Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Ferdinand E. Marcos, President of the Republic of the Philippines.
On the occasion of the 1983 graduation ceremonies to the Philippine Military Academy, we shall now hear the commencement address of President Ferdinand E. Marcos.
General Sumel, Prime Minister Savirata, the Minister of National Defense, Minister Juan Ponce Enrile, the Chief of Staff, General Fabian Ver, Vice Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Fidel Ramos, Major Service Commanders, officers, men, cadets, graduates of the Philippine Military Academy, ladies and gentlemen. Commander of the troops, may I give the troops tikas pahinga. Of course, I forgot to greet the First Lady and Governor of Metropolitan Manila. Of course, he was included among in the term my fellow administrators of government. In keeping with a tradition hallowed in the long and proud history of this academy, I come here once again on behalf of our people to honor and welcome those of the Cadet Corps who today enter into the nation's service in our armed forces. You are the 17th graduating class of this academy, whom I am personally privileged to salute as President and Commander-in-Chief. And incidentally, yours is the biggest number yet, for you number 192. And while there is something that corresponds to duty in my being here today, I must say that I am also exceedingly pleased to be here, proud and delighted to take part in these immemorial rites of graduation here at the Philippine Military Academy, the cradle of the leadership of our armed forces. This rite of passage is but a moment, fleeting and unique, and the march of the years that go into the training, the molding, the study of a member of the Corps, even longer years that will form the life of a professional soldier. But while the moment lasts, it signifies for each of us something to cherish and remember always. For our young graduates, this moment bears a deeply personal meaning and import, and you will ever remember this as the culmination of the long years spent in study and training at this academy that is dedicated to one ideal, the ideal of excellence. If it is for you a deeply personal one, it is also, in another sense, an event of national meaning and importance. For we mark by this ceremony the continuity of many things we hold dear in our country, the continuity of the institutions and ideals, the continuity of leadership and the learning and the service of national goals and purposes, the continuity of every generation's commitment to the fulfillment of national greatness and the attainment of our people's destiny. Nowhere, perhaps, is this theme of continuity more jealously guarded and nurtured than here in the Philippine Military Academy, in a record of service that now spans 78 years. We have seen this institution grow from the beginnings as police training school in the Santa Lucia Barracks in Intramuros, Manila, into our premier military school here in Baguio City. We have seen it turn out year after year, men of exceptional skills and commitment to people, commitment to the flag, commitment to the Republic and to the Constitution, commitment to the country for the vital task of leadership in the armed forces. And we have seen it hold up the pride before the people, the three words so sacred to the core: courage, integrity, loyalty. We do not always readily recognize or remember how this fateful link between training and leadership constitutes so important a part of national vitality and strength. Some of us tend to think sometimes that leadership for a nation and for its many institutions is largely a matter of accident and luck. Yet in truth, no nation could ever hope to advance or prosper unless it dedicates part of its time to the conscious training of the young for the tasks of leadership. It cannot hope to even survive and endure unless it holds before itself a vibrant mission of the continuity of its life and purposes with a continuing source of leadership. In a world full of many cares and irritation, in which crises pile in with every turn of events, the need perhaps now more than ever for learning and reason to illuminate the tasks of leadership. Filipino leadership must be guided by this kind of light that comes from the conscious effort to learn and to prepare for duty, or else we shall ever be in danger of stumbling in our course toward the future. Our institutions of learning serve us in this vital way in providing this continuity of leadership for our country. And it is here, in this academy, where we have developed most fully this link between learning and leadership in the attention and care that we focus in the preparation of men for the task of command in our country's armed forces. Where in the other cares of the nation's life, training, you might say, is only broadly focused on the larger goal of leadership. Here, in the Philippine Military Academy, we train and nurture for nothing else but this, leadership and command. We do not really and consciously graduate from our universities any future presidents and statesmen, but here, in this academy, we mold and train and motivate the cadets for the task of military leadership. Here, we build the generals of tomorrow. Here the choices of careers are made early, and once they are made, everything thereafter is an effort and a struggle to learn and to imbibe the wherewithal for military command and leadership. A young man may wish and aspire for this charge, but in the end, the process of training itself decides whether he may enter or not. He may pass or he may fail the rigors of training. This all depends on how much of himself he will bring into meeting the demand of becoming a soldier and an officer. This all depends what real gifts he has, what qualities of character he truly possesses. In the end, if he makes it through the course, he will have become a soldier and an officer and a gentleman, worthy of command in our armed forces and worthy of our people's trust, and worthy candidates for leadership in our armed forces of the Philippines. To choose, therefore, this career and not another is to embrace an uncommon challenge to which many are called and only few are chosen. It is to prefer a life of effort to a life of ease. It is to profess a love of country that is above and beyond the platitudes in which we sometimes understand the term. It is to entail at the outset a sacrifice of many things, comfort, wealth, fortune, among others. And it is above all to embrace a calling for which the greatest sacrifice may well be asked, one's very life and honor itself. Therefore, that in the years training devoted to one's membership in the Cadet Corps, the three words, courage, integrity, loyalty, stand high above the many virtues we strive to inculcate and nurture in every would-be officer. Our armed forces need all of these. These are almost homely terms nowadays, whose meaning have been devalued by cliché and cynicism. But to the Philippine Military Academy cadets, these are of the very essence of his life, the soldier's life and his faith. We nurture courage first because it exemplifies the fundamental challenge and test a soldier must meet. It is not in itself merely bravery in the face of the enemy or danger, nor is it just the fortitude to die decently when life must be placed in hazard or in combat. Perhaps most truly it is the grace to live manfully Many things have been said and written about this virtue. But let me turn to a man in uniform, General George Patton, who described it as follows. And he once said, "If we take generally accepted definitions of bravery as a quality which knows not fear, I have never seen a brave man. All men are frightened. The more intelligent they are, the more they are frightened. The courageous man is the man who forces himself, in spite of his fear, to carry on. And the trials of battle that are finally the most supreme test of all, courage is the difference that make for the might of armies and the survival of nations." The Duke of Wellington has said that the British soldiers at the Battle of Waterloo were not braver than Napoleon's soldiers. They were only braver 5 minutes longer. But that made the difference between victory and defeat. Of course, Napoleon himself succinctly caught the fleeting dimension of courage when he said, "The difference between an outstanding soldier and an ordinary one is audacity. A soldier without audacity is a poor soldier indeed." The second of these virtues you live by is integrity. And this encompasses for the PMA cadet all that he understands of honor, sincerity, honesty, and candor. In its generic sense, integrity is wholeness and pride of self, for which a man will brook nothing rather than suffer injury to his sense of honor. This we take care to nurture in the training of our soldiery, because by this quality we attach much that brings strength and cohesion to a military organization. No military force can possibly thrive without a strong code of honor to guide and keep its officers and men together. And we prize, thirdly, the virtue of loyalty in the code of our professional soldier. By this we mean to encompass all the loyalties that soldiers live by and jealously guard. Loyalty to one's comrade and superiors. Loyalty to organization of which one is part. Loyalty above all to the flag, to the country, to the Constitution, and to the people. In the soldier's code, loyalty is wedded to the virtue of discipline and obedience in the hierarchy of command of the armed forces. For this is so because the soldier's fealty ought never to admit of doubt or hesitation in the stresses of crisis or combat and danger. From the loyalty of comrades to one another and the ability of commanders to count on the loyalty of his men arises the sense of security of armies, and that form of security which they in turn confer on entire nations and republics. When one reflects on the many qualities that we look for in our society, and particularly in the officer corps of our armed forces, it goes without saying that we are asking for much, and for which our people cannot possibly make returns when they are given. We set a high price for the responsibilities of military command, and we can only return for the service and dedication freely given the lasting pride and admiration of our people and our nation. Why is it, therefore, that at all times and all places in our country's history and in the history of so many other nations and peoples, again and again, this call to service is heeded and answered by the best of our manhood? I believe that this is because there is in the profession of arms a challenge and an opportunity unique and unparalleled for men to live a life to the fullest and in the most noble way. It provides an instance in which personal virtue can be joined magnificently with the very life of a nation and a people. It affords us a chance to live and fight as may be for a cause greater than ourselves. Not all of us are cut out for the rigors of a soldier's life. Yet, when the very life of our nation is endangered, many of those who had never dreamt of becoming soldiers will not scruple to offer their service to people and country, modest as that service may be. We have seen this time and again in our country's history, and never more vividly than during the last World War. This is the profound connection which the civilian has with those few who by choice dedicate themselves to a soldier's life and man the ramparts of the national defense, even in times of peace. And this is to say that the bond we feel with our soldier, between our people and our armed forces, is a vivid sense of pride in ourselves as a people and as a nation. And around these are built the loyalties we bear to one another. We speak of national ideology nowadays. The essence of it is really the convergence of these loyalties around a common vision of the nation and the people we can be, and the practical measures that we must undertake toward its fulfillment. That ideology encompasses the pride we take in being this nation and not another, in being Filipino and not any other nation. It is the pride we proclaim before the peoples of our past achievements, of our peoples and of their sacrifices, the patriotism, the valor, and the heroism of our forebears. And it encompasses the dreams and aspirations we dare to entertain of our national destiny, that by our own efforts and sacrifices we can indeed build for ourselves a nation worthy of those who have come before us, of all of us who live today, and of those who will come after us tomorrow. Such a faith is nowhere better exemplified than in our men in uniform, whose lives are every moment dedicated to the vigil over the security and well-being of every man of the Republic as routine. Among them, this cause lives on, day in and day out, often in anonymity, because by this our nation abides and endures. Having known myself the demands of a soldier's life, the challenges of command, and the perils that often must be faced, I can say perhaps that I understand what it means to dedicate one's life to the profession of arms. The world may have turned over many times, as General MacArthur said, since the days when I was called to the colors, and since I surrendered my uniform for the cares of public office. But some things do not change, in spite of the flux and turn of events. And one of these is the faith of the soldier in his service to people and country. Let me tell you then what I might have said if I had been asked, when I was an officer, a young officer, exactly what was I fighting for? If you were asked, you who have graduated and are now officers of the armed forces of the Philippines, what are you fighting for in our military forces? It is no different, I think, from what I would have said. There is no difference with your entry now into the military service. And if you were asked, probably you would answer in the same way. You would probably say, I am an officer of the armed forces of the Philippines, and as such, I am a leader of men. Being a leader of men, I pledge to act as one, without pettiness or weakness, without regret, without avarice. I believe that I am descended from free men who dreamt of peace, but who were willing to fight for and die for their liberties. I believe that more than any other, I, a soldier, am burdened with this legacy of courage, especially in time of danger. And so I must be brave where others flee and flinch. I believe that all our struggles lead to greater freedom in all its dimensions. I therefore believe that in the performance of my duty, I must deny myself the comfort of ordinary men and the burden of affluence. I believe that when I go to battle, I have the strength of 100 men, because the cause for which I fight is right, and because my heart is pure. I fight the side of God and on the side of my people. I believe that ever since, that if for any reason God should decree that I die in combat, although I may disappear, my fighting faith will live and will live forever in the hearts of my people. And I believe that my life is wedded to those of my countrymen with their fortunes and their destiny. Thus I must so live and conduct this life of mine with integrity and valor, so that those who follow me will themselves serve my people and country in the same manner. I believe that the profession of arms that I have chosen is an indispensable weapon for the protection and preservation of the Republic, the Constitution, and the flag, the freedoms that they stand for. It must be something which shall always submit to duly constituted authority and their policies. I believe that democracy is the form of government which is vouchsafed by divine providence for our people, and which meets with the culture of our people. And therefore, I am our people's soldier. In fulfillment of my charge, I pledge not only my life, my fortune, but also my honor. This then would have been my answer if I had been asked, and I am certain this is your answer now. Our people wish you no better vocation than this, and you could wish for no greater riches and rewards. Congratulations, thank you, and good day.